Hi everyone, welcome back to our YouTube channel. I'm IamInAzure. Hope you all are doing good and safe wherever you are. So to our community post on whether we start our bicep series or on logic app series, we have a mixed responses. So keeping that in mind, I think we need to start both of them. So I'm going to start with Azure Bicep for now, and as we go along, we will see on the logic app series as well in parallel. So we will try to understand what is this bicep and how different organizations are using it in their day-to-day work culture. And this is very much specific to Azure. So, but even before we start with this, we need to understand what is IAC, which is infrastructure as a code, and how it is going to help us. So basically, if you are someone who has worked on any cloud, or else even you know what is a cloud, it is primarily some servers hosted by some providers, as in here in our case it will be Microsoft, or else Google, or else Oracle, or else AWS. So different companies are hosting their own servers and they are just renting us. Renting as in we will be consuming those services, consuming as in we will be deploying our applications, or we will be hosting our data on their platform, and to the amount we are consuming their services, we are just paying for it. So they are providing all the networking. It is again, you have different things, IaaS, PaaS services, SaaS services, but typically you will have networking, security, availability, reliability, everything coming from the cloud providers based on their SLAs. Now, if you want to use any service, be it a data service or else infrastructure service, as in you want to consume some virtual machines, some clusters, or else you want to use some PaaS services, like web apps, or the uh, databases, the SQL databases, all those, you have to deploy them first. Deploy as in you have to create those resources in the cloud provider environment. Now to deploy them, there are multiple ways how you deploy them. One among them is basically these all we call it as infrastructure, the resources, whatever we are talking about, the networking data resources like the SQL, Cosmos, Mongo database, or MySQL database, the other databases as well. We call them as infrastructure. And if you want to deploy them, there are multiple ways how you deploy them. So if you look at the cloud native ones, individual cloud providers have their own flavor of technology or tools that they brought up in order to deploy these resources. In Azure, we have something called Bicep, ARM template, something similar in AWS. We will have their own flavor. In GCP, we will have their own flavor. So you will get some own native tools. Apart from those native tools, we have some third-party tools as well. We at that we will talk as we go along. But why these tools come into picture is all they want to have all their infrastructure in the form of some code, as in it can be in a bicep, or else as in it can be in some AML scripting, or else it can be in a JSON format, but it is some kind of written code that they want to have, so that it can be deployed across multiple environments without any human errors basically. So you know that whenever we talk about any application or software deployment, you will have basically some kind of code written in some programming language, be it in Python, Java, C Sharp, Go language, whatever the language is. It is some kind of code. You will have it, and then you will be placing that in some repository, and you will have your CI/CD pipelines, which will be actually deploying these applications onto the respective servers, be it on premise or else on the cloud. Similarly, similarly, to deploy your resources also, we have a code, which is we call it as infrastructure as a code. Now it is looking at your definition, it is clearly saying you have IAC as a DevOps practice that involves managing and provisioning of your infrastructure, which is your resources through code. So that code you can write it in multiple languages that we will see as we go along, rather than manual process. Okay, and the purpose is similar to your applications or softwares. You are just treating your infrastructure also as a software, and you are just enabling your version control, testing, automation, whatnot. You can do whatever you do with your applications basically. Okay, so that is what this IAC primarily looks for. And IAC, it has the ability that it gives same result even if you deploy it n number of times, how your application primarily behaves. Okay, so that is how it is. Now, what are the general use cases? You will see some consistency across your environments. Let's say you are deploying it to QA, then dev environment, test environment, then UAT environment, production environment. Across all the environments, you will have same configuration, but with you will definitely have the parameterization for your naming, then your location, all that. But the configuration level you can have consistent across the environments. Then you have automation that you can do, wherever you have the repetitive tasks like deploying the same kind of resources, you can generally automate them. Be it again in there are a number of ways that you can automate it. If you have your IAC, you can just make use of some third party tools, or else you can use some scripting language that you can just go ahead and deploy those resources through automation. Scalability that comes in again when you are working with an enterprise agreement or enterprise level of environments, where you need to scale up and scale down the resources within no time. So that in that uh, case, you will have this very handy when you work with IAC. If you have to go and deploy them with Azure portal, or else AWS portal or GCP portal, it is time consuming, and you at times get the errors also. At times, as in there is high chance that when you go and uh, do it in a hurry, when if you want to scale up some resources, so there is high chance. Again, version control that comes in again, as I mentioned, just like your software, you can have your code base of your infrastructure also, that you will maintain, where you have your history. Then multiple people come in and have your collaborations. Then you have the rollbacks whenever needed. If you want to go back to the previous versions, that you can do again with the version control of your IAC collaboration. Different multiple peoples can work on the same code base. Um, they can share basically the code base. Like someone can work on some module, the other guy can work on the same module, and you will have all that you can do with the IAC, very much similar to the software. Now at the top you see some diagram where I have this is very specific to Microsoft again. You have the ARM templates and the biceps as one of the tools, cloud native tools to deploy your Azure resources. Then you have something called Terraform, you have Pulumi, you have Ansible, Chef. There are other ways that you can deploy. So these the things that you are seeing on your left are the IACs, and on your right is your resources that you are going to have in your Azure environment. Now, other than this IAC, what are the other things that we have? IAC is primarily a kind of declarative form of code where you will actually define what resources you want to deploy, or else what resources you want to consume in your cloud environment. Other than this, we have other ways to deploy the resources also, but these are primarily for the where you write some code. You will have your infrastructure in the form of some code, and you will follow the DevOps practice. You will go through repos and CI/CD, all that. Other than this, you have, as I mentioned, the other ways how you can deploy the resources. Again, this is very specific to Azure only. So you can go with Azure portal. You have Azure PowerShell, Azure CLI, where you have AZ modules and AZ commandlets that you can use and deploy them. If you're someone who worked on coding part, then you can pretty much leverage the SDKs that are offered by Microsoft, uh, be it in Python or C Sharp, Java. We have SDKs that are open, that you can use them and you can deploy these resources again. Or else they have exposed REST APIs that you can use and deploy your infrastructure again. Now, whatever the things that you call here, be this list that you are seeing on top, or else the list that we have seen in our presentation, they all go through this ARM only. That is a kind of manager which talks to individual resource providers. Resource providers, as in the resources that you are going to deploy. And even before reaching to this resource provider, you have something called authentication. It will check whether you are uh, the request that is coming from these different platforms or tools, whether they are authenticated or not. If yes, then it will go to the individual respective service provider or else resource provider, and you will get your resources being deployed onto platform. Okay, so now that is primarily for IAC, as in why do we need it. Then we will just go and see what are the different as in how bicep we are going to use, and what bicep offers, as we discuss here, these are the different things that IAC should mandatorily have. So similarly, now bicep is also one kind of IAC, so it should also satisfy all the properties that we have seen in our earlier earlier slide. So bicep is again a declarative syntax where you will write your code in order to deploy your Azure resources. This is very much native to cloud, native to Microsoft Cloud. And again, bicep, even before bicep was uh, been here for almost 3 years now. So before this bicep, we have ARM templates. It was bicep was announced in 2021 in their Microsoft Ignite 2021. Later that people started using bicep over ARM template. But even today we have ARM templates in a few of the organizations where you will write your code in the JSON format. We will see both how both looks, bicep and ARM templates. But basically both of them are IAC where you can deploy your infrastructure in the form of code. Okay, so bicep again were on top of ARM templates only. When you create an bicep and when you deploy it under the hood, it will be converted to ARM templates and it will go to your resource manager. Okay, so the JSON syntax to create ARM templates can be verbose, as in when you look at an ARM template, you will have too many lines of code where you have to follow the proper syntax of your ARM templates, the curly braces, the to form an array, you have to have the brackets and all that. That complexity you will not have any longer with bicep. Bicep is pretty straightforward, like your Python code or .NET code. But don't worry if you're not into any coding form also, it is pretty easy to learn it. We will try to make it pretty much comfortable for you. And very similar, uh, during deployment, as I mentioned, your bicep CLI will convert your bicep file to your ARM template JSON file. So you don't need to again learn ARM template for this also. You need to understand what are the different things that you have in ARM template just for understanding, not necessary. But if you know it, pretty much easy for you, the bicep part. But we will see how we can make it more easier for you. Okay. Now, what are the key benefits that you will get with the bicep? So bicep again is pretty much supports all the resource types and API versions. Resource types, as in even the ones that are in preview and that are generally available. If you want to deploy those resources into your cloud environment, you can deploy them pretty much. They are pretty much available. You don't need to wait for the tools to come up and get it updated. And the syntax is also pretty much simple when compared to your JSON. You don't need to have any prior knowledge of programming language as well. And then there is something authorization experience, first class authorization experience in Azure, as in there are some IDEs that you can primarily use. So we primarily use Visual Studio Code where you can install your extension, and then you will have um the experience, as in the extension will help you with type safety. It has its own intelligence. It will help you in the syntax validation. It will give you the prompts, like if you say virtual machine, it will give you the prompt to deploy all your script and how do you write your code, all that you will see that. And the repetitive deployments also, as in you will get the same results with the whatever we have discussed with IAC, the same functionalities or the features we have it in Bicep. Whenever you want to deploy the infrastructure through repetitive development lifecycle, you will get the consistency across the uh, environments, or else the resources what you deploy. And the code reuse, definitely, as we use it across the environments or across the modules, you can have them as a module, and then you can use them with multiple projects also. Let's say you want to deploy a virtual machine, you can create a script and you can use it for different projects altogether. Okay, so that is a bit on the key features and functionalities. Definitely, you can read on it. Like you have the modularity, it has the integration that it supports with multiple Azure environments. Then it is basically um, open source that you can go and definitely look at that part. So these are some key benefits. Now, how it works, as in who is someone as in we actually going to write these templates. So you will write your bicep templates, which will eventually get converted into JSON. You don't need to do anything to use this conversion. You will use the bicep commands that will help you to convert from a bicep template to arm template, and that arm template will go to the Azure portal. Now, when you follow this through your CI/CD pipelines or else the DevOps practices, it is something with very simple commands. You will just deploy them. You don't need to worry on this one. But this is on a high level flow, how you will be deploying your resources. Okay. Now, this is what the extension I was talking about. We will be using this extension pretty much in our upcoming videos in our series. So if you look at this picture, it is just trying to create some storage account, and the intelligence that is coming up, whatever, and the primarily the script how it looks. Um, this is what we are going to create also in our upcoming sessions. And as I mentioned, if you look at here, you on your left you have the bicep, on your right you have this arm template which is in a JSON format, but on your left you have the bicep which is very pretty much simple, similar to your Terraform code or Python code, where you define your resources, and it just 10 lines of code you have. On your right you have pretty much big um, JSON, where you need to have your proper form of syntax, like your curly braces, then the columns, commas, everything you need to maintain, everything pretty much. But you don't have all those things on your left, where you don't have the commas or the curly braces, too much of curly braces, or else the double quotes, everything has been removed with your bicep. Okay. With this, I'm taking a pause for today. I hope you will go through this, understand what is IAC, what is bicep, not to the full extent. We will go as we go along, but at least you need to get some sense what we are trying to going to deal with in our upcoming sessions, what we are going to learn, all that, and what are the primary benefits of bicep. Okay, with that, I'm going to take a pause now, and we will continue in our next series. If you find this interesting, or if you like the content, please do like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and please share this so that not just you, everyone will get some sense of what bicep and how we can use. And I need some feedback in my comments so that it will help me to grow this. If I'm missing something, please do let me know in the comments so that I can just improve it in my next videos. So thanks for your time, guys. We will continue this series, and have a nice day. Bye.